Hi, welcome to today's monthly session. Today we'll be talking about what can PrintBoss do for you. I am William Wingson, and today, of part of the agenda, we'll be talking about PrintBoss. What exactly is PrintBoss? We'll also be doing a comparison between the standard and the enterprise version of PrintBoss. Then we'll talk about the benefits. We'll mention all the features, but basically, why should you buy PrintBoss? Why should you use it? Then we'll cover using PrintBoss for checks. And finally, we'll talk about PrintBoss for documents. So let's get started. What exactly is PrintBoss? PrintBoss is a third-party application that extends the functionality of Sage 300. It is a versatile print processor software. It was originally designed to save people time and money by printing checks from multiple bank accounts to one blank check stock. PrintBoss does this extremely well, but it can do much more. With this software, you can also print any document, whether it's a sales order, a purchase order, invoice, and have it automatically emailed, faxed, or stored in a given location. And you can do all of this, email, fax, stored in a given location, just by clicking on print. It is that simple. Okay, when you store or archive documents, the PrintBoss will allow you to automatically save it in a particular directory and have the file name dynamically created based on either the company name, the document type, and the document number. Okay, so as I mentioned before, there are two flavors for Sage 300, the PrintBoss Standard and the PrintBoss Enterprise. The pricing for this, the PrintBoss Standard is roughly half the price of the Enterprise version, and the Enterprise version is quite reasonably priced at only, I think, $7.95. Okay. The two different versions, the Standard version and the Enterprise version, of course, they have different features. So let's look at some of the features, the similarities. Check and form printing solution. Yes, it's also in the enterprise. Both of them are HP or use HP compatible laser printers. There's a big difference with the enterprise where you have unlimited bank accounts. With the standard feature, you only have 10 bank accounts. Okay. Both of them, you have the ability to print multiple copies in multiple formats. Okay, you can also have unique information for printing to a specific copy. Okay, and therefore this will eliminate the need for multi-part forms. Okay, we have dynamic naming of documents in the enterprise version. Okay. We can also combine multiple page emails into a single email as a PDF attachment. We can also send email but omit the attachments. We can do many things with this product. We can print a PDF file, combining all pages into a single PDF document. Okay. We can fax using PrintBoss. So PrintBoss, as people traditionally think about it, they think about it as a check printing software, but it's much more than a check printing software. In fact, I've had many cases where people have asked me for a particular solution, and I mentioned PrintBoss, and then they said, oh, but we already have PrintBoss, but we use it only in the AP department. Well, that's a very limited use of PrintBoss, especially if you have the enterprise version. Okay. So with all these features, what does it actually mean for you? Well, at the end of the day, what the software will allow you to do is save time. You'll spend less time swapping forms in the printer. You don't have to worry about matching check numbers to a particular bank account. You don't have to worry about collating copies. But PrintBoss manages all of these things for you, right? You can print, email, fax, and store or archive deposit slips, stubs, pay stubs, invoices, and any other accounting document. PrintBoss basically makes your valuable time more available to you. Saving money. Well, most people would say if I save time, I automatically save money. And yes, as we know, that is true. But also, in terms of hard costs, PrintBoss will allow you to save money by both buying less pre-printed forms. You don't need to do that anymore. And of course, if you have different bank accounts and you have pre-printed forms, you don't need it. So therefore, you will also save on inventory space. Okay. It is estimated that you can save up to 80% of the cost of pre-printed forms by printing onto blank check stock and using white paper for deposits, invoices, and much more. And all of this, it's not very complicated. All you have to do is, once it is set up, hit the print button. Increase security. Plus, besides saving time and money, you have increased security. PrintBoss adds enough security to dissuade most hardened financial hackers. The print checks into blank check stocks, and one you can steal your bank information on the unused paper stock. And you can also use encrypted signature files to endorse checks according to the amounts. So, for example, any amount less than $500, you could add an automated signature. Any amount between, let's say, over 500 and below 5,000, maybe you need 2 signatures. And anything above 5,000, maybe you'll need 3 signatures. So you can set up security option. For those of you in the US, there's also a feature called Positive Pay, which the bank sets up a certain format which you can send a file. And if the file is not in that format, it will reject the file. So that's an added security feature. Okay. What we want to do now is we want to discuss some of the printing features, especially as it refers to checks. So we can see that we can print from any bank account onto a blank check stock. We talked about. We can print checks in alphabetical order, which might be helpful. I'm referring here to pay stubs, for example. If I'm handing them out as part of my process of handing out a pay stub to an individual to make sure, sometimes in large companies, you want to make sure that those individuals actually exist. So having the names in alphabetical order might be useful. We might want to print checks in the order of the amount. So if, for example, I have checks, let's say below 500, I know that those will automatically be signed with an electronic signature. And above 500, I might need a physical signature of 2 people. So if I can sort my checks in order of amount, again, that might be useful. I can also print using pressure seal stock. So what is pressure seal stock, you might be asking? Well, what it is, it's a special form where you can print the check, and then there are machines that will automatically fold it, and you will be able to put it in the mailbox. So this would avoid having to have windowed envelopes and then putting it into a window envelope and mailing it. So PrintBoss will handle this type of stock also. When we print checks, you can have a mini copy of the stub as part of the stub, and the check and you can have the stub and the check, a second stub and the check, right? You can print a full-size copy of the check. I will demonstrate this when we talk about when I go into the Sage 300 and actually do a check. We can also add the proper company logo if desired to these checks. So again, I am a proponent of adding your logos wherever you can, especially to outward facing documents, because you are trying to create brand awareness. And having your logo makes it so much easier to have people recognize it. Okay, so that feature is useful. Formatting the checks. So we can automatically select the correct bank account for your check printing. The PrintBoss will remember the last check number used for each bank account. And you can also adjust the fonts if you desire for the bank for the checks actually. Okay. Check signatures. We can apply a signature to any check based on signing rules. As I mentioned before, anything below 500, you might decide that pre-printed or electronic signature is good enough. And for anything over a certain amount, you might need 2 signatures. If you're using secured signatures, then PrintBoss will allow you to keep track of the secured signatures that are used. And again, as I mentioned before, if you're above a certain amount, you might require a second signature. Okay. So now, besides that, there are some other features, security features. For example, we can use positive pay to help prevent fraud. We can use secure funds to reinforce the current check amount. We can also require additional login to print, or we can require a physical key to print. It's possible to have a manager approve the batch before printing. So all of these things help with security. If you're doing something like, let's say, electronic payment, then you can send a direct pay stub to let's say, an employee, and you can add a unique password to that, so that only that employee with that password can open the pay stub. And this can be done instead of course, printing them. So as you can see, there's a lot of secure features around check printing. Now I want to talk about the documents. A lot of people know about checks when it comes to PrintBoss, but I've often, like I said, I often have clients who they would have a problem, and I would suggest PrintBoss, and they would say, but we already have PrintBoss, but it's in the AP department using it. So there seems to be a disconnect with other people using with the ability to use PrintBoss for their documents besides printing just checks. So PrintBoss knows how to create an archival copy or store a copy. It knows how to file or how to file that copy, where to put it. It would also know how to label each copy. Why is archiving or storing information important to a client? Well, it is important because it provides a backup of information for your company. And individuals and companies alike are required to store tax documents or documents related to anything with taxes for at least 7 years. So storage is important to keep files. Now, I just want to, as a side point, mention what you can do with this is just beyond just storing the information. For example, somebody wanted to ask me about, they wanted to do change orders. So in Sage, or let's say purchase orders, I create a purchase order, I print it. So I can store it with a name based on whatever we decide to set up in PrintBoss, whether it's a date and whether it's a PO number. If that PO is changed, then what you can do is reprint it. So now you have a record of the original, and you have a record after the change was made. So Sage 300 at present doesn't have a system where we can see change orders, for example. So again, using this third-party product PrintBoss, it would help us with archiving documents like purchase orders or any sort of like invoices, etc. Okay, so there's many uses we can think of with storing information. With printed documents, you can also trigger to staple it if it is in more than one pages. Again, this is if you have a printer with stable enabled. Of course, the software alone can't do it. So the software working with the printer will allow you to staple documents. You can also print to a duplex printer. You can determine the number of copies for different types of document. So for example, if I were to print an invoice, I can send the invoice to the printer. With another copy, I can send it to email. With yet another copy, I can send it to a particular file or folder. Okay? And as I mentioned before, we can sort documents alphabetically, based on numerically or some money value. We can print documents that includes a watermark, so making it harder to duplicate documents if you don't want it to be duplicated. We can print to different trays. So we can now print by clicking on one button. We can send one document to a tray with a white piece of paper, another one to a yellow, and yet another one to a pink piece of paper, which allows us to have different color copies for invoices. So then we can send it to various departments. Now, what was interesting is that somebody once asked me, well, can I modify not only the, let's say, print on different color paper, but could I actually modify the form or the information that goes on a particular document? So I want to have the same invoice, but when it is printed, I want it to look different for whatever reason. And the answer is yes, you can do that, because depending on your copy, you could use another form. Okay, so emailing documents. So one of the things we can do is we can put a different password. For example, if we're emailing pay stubs to someone, we can email using Microsoft Outlook. But some people don't have Microsoft Outlook, so you can also email using your own SMTP port, which means that you can use either, let's say, something like Gmail or something like live.com or some other form of web-based email. Okay. You can also edit the subject line in the email before it is sent. Okay, so again, if you, for some reason, you want to customize it, you can set it up so that you can change the subject line. Not only that, you can also change the email body just before you send the email. You can specify the name of the attachment when sending the email. So, and we can send additional documents when sending an email. This is particularly useful. Let's say, for example, I have a new hire, and I want to send them a form, a non-disclosure form maybe, or I want to send them a form where they would enter, let's say, something like contact information or emergency contact information. So these all can be handled with PrintBoss. So before I jump into questions, I want to show you in the Sage 300 product, I want to show you how some of this thing works. So let me just get out of my PowerPoint, go to my Sage 300 product. Okay, what I will do now is I will look at, let's go into AP. So I go into AP transactions. I'm going to create a little payment here. So I'm going to maybe create a new batch. So once that is open out, yes, let's create a new batch. Okay, I'm going to select, let's say, 1400 because I know that's Canadian. Okay, I am going to look at all the invoices that I have. I see here pending of to the 326,000. So I'm going to do a payment on that. Let's say I decided to pay, let's say, 2,000 tab. Okay, and if I add this, if I wanted to print the check right away, I can go back and then I can hit on the print check button, which will then bring up a screen that would allow me to select the particular check. So in this particular case, I want to select the check. Let's say I'm looking for a AP checks, this one here. So this particular check is created with or the default check from actually PrintBoss. So PrintBoss actually gives you some default checks. So now if I click on the print button, I am printing to preview, I hope. Okay, so what I will see here is I wouldn't see how the actual check is delivered. I would see the information that goes on the check. So on here, this part here, you would see the check stub. And in this part here, you would see the check, the actual check down here. Now above here in blue, you would notice that what we would have is we would have what we call triggers that would allow us to trigger to say what form we are going to be using in from PrintBoss, right? So this is just a print preview. Now, of course, you don't have to do it this way. Let me emphasize that. I'm doing this simply because of demo purposes. You can have it just go straight to the printer. Okay, I am only trying to demonstrate here why you would want to see how it works. So now, let us say I go and click on the print button. Okay, I'm going to use the PrintBoss driver. Okay, and now, because I want you to see what the check looks like, I'm not going to send it to an actual printer. I mean, I'm going to send it to something where you can look at it electronically. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it under the documents folder, and I'm going to call it check. Of course, the Canadian spelling for check, and I'm going to call it check 5,000, and I'm going to say save. So what it has just done, it's almost like we are printing to a printer. So it's already done already. So in this point here, what I want to do now is I want to go close out of this. So we already know what that looks like. With the checks printed successfully, I'm going to say yes. All right. And what I can do here, just I can close this down and minimize this. And I'm going to go to that folder. Let me just click on this here. And the folder was in this PC. I remember it was under the documents folder, and I'm looking for check 5,000. So if I look here, check 5,000 and click on it, right? Now this is what would have gone to the printer. So if it opens up eventually, yep. Where is it down here? So I'm just going to click on this, and here we have the check. So if you look on the stub part, it's almost like if we have a mini check. So we have on the little piece here what the check is paying. So here I can see the company and I can see the address that I send it to. Of course, it's not a real check, so it will just say copy here. Then on in this part here, we see the check stub, what invoices pay, and here at the bottom we see the actual check. Okay, so this is what PrintBoss will allow us to do. So there will be a blank check form, and all of this information here would be generated by PrintBoss. Okay, so it makes, as I said, it's easy to do. All I did is I clicked on the print button, and it's even easier than what I demonstrated because you won't have to go through all of this. So you go in and see the print preview. That is something I just did just for demonstration purposes. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to go and let's say print invoice. But in this case, I want to print the invoice to a printer physically. I also want to email it, and I also want to store that, let's say, invoice to a particular folder. Okay. So in order to do that, what I can do is I can show you in PrintBoss itself how that works. So I'm going to go to the form files here. I'm going to quickly, this is the actual one that I want to do, and I'm going to hit edit, click on the editor. And if I go to the PDF here, I would see that that PDF, when I create the PDF, it will go to PrintBoss/invoices. Okay, and then it will be just the doc number, will be the name of the invoice. So if I go up to here to multiple parts and printer, I will see here the original. I can email the original. I have an energy of sending it to an actual printer. And thirdly, I can send it as a PDF file. So we have one particular form. We can send it to different, use different formats, so printing it as it will. So I'm going to close out this. Right, I'm going to go into my order entry, and I can minimize all these screens here. So close it down. I go to order entry forms. Let's say it's invoices I want to deal with, so I'm going to click on invoices. Okay. Now I just want to check here, make sure that it's using the form. Yes, it's using a form that was that has triggers on it. And then what I want to do is I want to select a particular invoice. So let's say I go inside here, and let's say I select invoice number, let's see, 33, for example. And I really don't want to print everything, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it onto this. Paste. And now I want to print that. So again, like before, in my particular case, I'm printing it to print preview, right? So it will show the triggers, okay? Then I'm going to go and say, okay, let's print it. But now let's use the PrintBoss driver. And I hit print. And now, because I'm not sending it to an actual printer, right? I am going to store it on the documents again so that we can see what it looks like. It looks practically. So I'm going to call this, let's say, invoice. Let's say again, 5,000, tab, and finish. So once I've done that, the printing has already taken place. So I have like a hard copy of this document. I can show you what it looks like. So I don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to close out of this, move to my right here, close out of that. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to look at my, let's go to my documents, and I would see here invoice 500, it wasn't 5,000. This was the invoice that would have gone to the printer. Okay, one copy would be emailed, and then I told it, the system, I wanted it to go into or put a PDF file into, let's say, I think it's called under PrintBoss invoices. So inside here, I should see invoice 33. So if I were to click on that, that would show me the PDF file for that particular invoice. So I've just demonstrated how you can print, just one click of the button print, and have it go to different locations in different formats. So it's quite a useful feature. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you today, right? Give you a good idea of how PrintBoss works. I just want to go through some some more features that you have. You can print multiple copies of the same document with different conditions using PrintBoss. So you can have multiple copies of the same document with different, let's say, 1 over 5,000 that would require a signature, etc. Okay. Somebody wanted to ask me, do you have to use crystal reports? So no, you don't have to use crystal reports. As long as you can put the PrintBoss triggers on the document, you will be able to print using that format. Okay. So that's also something that one of the features that you can use um, in in your decision whether you want to use PrintBoss or not. Okay. So what I want this let me just go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. So these sessions will be um, uh, will be posted on our website. So if you go to karenbusiness.com, you will be able to see these videos. Okay, and my name is William Wingson again. If you want to contact me, you can use my email at william.wingson@karenbusiness.com. We are always open for suggestions for new sessions. So thank you and have a good day.